The Life of Mahatma Gandhi. Pope Pius, the Dalai Lama of Tibet, the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Chief Rabbi of London, the King of England, President Truman, Chiang Kai-shek, the President of France, indeed the political heads of all important countries, except Soviet Russia, and most minor ones publicly expressed their grief at Gandhi's passing. Léon Blum, the French Socialist, put on paper what millions felt. "I never saw Gandhi," Blum wrote. "I do not know his language. I never set foot in his country, and the same sorrow as if I had lost somcone near and dear. The whole world has been plunged into mourning by the death of this extraordinary man." Gandhi had demonstrated, Professor Albert Einstein asserted, that a powerful human following can be assembled not only through the cunning game of the usual political manocuvres and trickeries, but through the cogent example of a morally superior conduct of life. In our time of utter moral decadence, he was the only statesman to stand for a higher human relationship in the political sphere. The Security Council of the United Nations paused for its members to pay tribute to the dead man. Philip Noel-Baker, the British representative, praised Gandhi as a friend of the poorest and the loneliest and the lost. Gandhi's greatest achievements, he predicted, are still to come. Other members of the Security Council extolled Gandhi's spiritual qualities and lauded his devotion to peace and nonviolence. Mr. Andrei Gromyko, of the Soviet Union, called Gandhi one of the outstanding political leaders of India, whose name will always be linked with the struggle of the Indian people for their national liberation, which has lasted over such a long period. Soviet Ukraine delegate Tarasenko also stressed Gandhi's politics. The UN lowered its flag to half-mast. Humanity lowered its flag. The worldwide response to Gandhi's death was in itself an important fact. It revealed a widespread mood and need. There is still some hope for the world, which reacted as reverently as it did to the death of Gandhi, Albert Deutsch declared in the New York newspaper PM. The shock and sorrow that followed the New Delhi tragedy shows we still respect sainthood even when we cannot fully understand it. Gandhi made humility and simple truth more powerful than empires, U.S. Senator Arthur H. Vandenberg said. Pearl S. Buck, novelist, described Gandhi's assassination as another crucifixion. Justice Felix Frankfurter called it a cruel blow against the forces of good in the world. General Douglas MacArthur, Supreme Allied Military Commander in Japan, said, "In the evolution of civilization, if it is to survive, all men cannot fail eventually to adopt Gandhi's belief that the process of mass application of force to resolve contentious issues is fundamentally not only wrong, but contains within itself the germs of self-destruction." Lord Admiral Mountbatten, last British Viceroy in India, expressed the hope that Gandhi's life might inspire our troubled world to save itself by following his noble example. The spectacle of the general and the admiral pinning their faith on the little ascetic would certainly seem to justify the verdict of Sir Hartley Shawcross, British Attorney General, that Gandhi was the most remarkable man of the century. To the statesmen and politicians who eulogized him, Gandhi was at least a reminder of their own inadequacies. A California girl of 13 wrote in a letter, "I was really terribly sad to hear about Gandhi's death. I never knew I was that interested in him, but I found myself quite unhappy about the great man's death." In New York, a 12-year-old girl had gone into the kitchen for breakfast. The radio was on, and it brought the news of the shooting of Gandhi. There, in the kitchen, the girl, the maid and the gardener held a prayer meeting and prayed and wept. Just so, millions in all countries mourned Gandhi's death as a personal loss. They did not quite know why. They did not quite know what he stood for. But he was a good man, and good men are rare. I know no other man of any time, or indeed in recent history, wrote Sir Stafford Cripps, who so forcefully and convincingly demonstrated the power of spirit over material things. This is what the people sensed when they mourned. All around them, material things had power over spirit. The sudden flash of his death revealed a vast darkness. No one who survived him had tried so hard, and with so much success, to live a life of truth, kindness, self-effacement, humility, service and non-violence throughout a long, difficult struggle against mighty adversaries. He fought passionately and unremittingly against British rule of his country and against the evil in his own countrymen. But he kept his hands clean in the midst of battle. He fought without malice or falsehood or hate. Less than the end unit, one greater than.